Ok. Dobra večer svima. U drugo predstavljanje ovogodišnjeg 6. Sandorfovog mini maratona predstavljamo knjigu Marte Barone Potopljeni grad. Kako je ovo predstavljanje ide uživo na Facebook stranici Sandorfa, mi ćemo razgovor s autoricom Martom Barone voditi na engleskom jeziku, a kasnije će također biti dostupan i snimak predstavljanja sa hrvatskim prijevodom. Ako bilo tko iz publike želi da nešto prevedemo, slobodno recite i ja ću prevesti bilo pitanje, bilo odgovor upućen autorici. So now we will switch to English, and I would like the director of the Italian Institute, Mr. Gianluca Borghese, to welcome you to this presentation. So please, Mr. Borghese, if you can open this presentation. We are very grateful to the support of the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Foreign Affairs for supporting the book through the program of the Italian Institute.
Thank you. Where should I look at? To Marte Barone. Okay. Hello. So yes, as the editor has just said, I'm very happy to be here to this event, which is the presentation of Marte Barone book Città sommersa in the Croatian translation, and we are very happy of having this possibility of talking directly with the author of this book, which was although not in person but online, but it's always it's still a very nice opportunity, and the book, as we all know, was among the candidate for the Premio Strega 2020. Enrico De Aglio proposed it for the list of candidates. And it was at that time, if I'm correctly informed, the first your first published book, your first. It's difficult. It's not a novel. It's not a memoir. It's between the two. But it was your first your first masterpiece. And you are a very young author on the other hand. It's extremely interesting for it's even also from my point of view, and as a director of Italian Cultural Institute in Zagreb, is extremely interesting, not only beautifully written, but interesting as a novel and for its content. It's very representative of a period of our history, of a certain section of our society. So it's a pressure reconstruction of what was of a past which is recent in terms of numbers. It's not so far away, but it looks extremely far away from the evolution of a society. So thank you very much. I always want to express my gratitude to Sandorf Publishing House, because the choices are excellent always, and he helps enormously with his choices to represent Italian literary culture in Croatia with his precious effort of translating the best of our production. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Borghese. Your words oblige us to keep the good work, absolutely. And I can say for sure with Marta's book we are on a good way. And already Mr. Borghese opened this evening with a great intro and mentioned the nominations for the prizes. So I cannot add more to it. I can say that we named our 2 days event in which we present the latest Sandorf's translations from different languages. We named the whole event Battle for Every Man, social engagement in European literature, because all of the books that we present have this tone, have this subject, and talk about important social changes. And the first day, today, we had 2 books, your book and book by a Flemish a graphic novelist, Judith van Istendal, and both of your books talk about these subjects from a personal point of view, from the point of view of autobiography. So I would like to start this conversation with our editors, the editor of the book, Darko Milošić, editor in Sandorf also, Matko Abramić, and our outside associate, a reader for our best novels, Matko Sršen, who happened to be my father. So it's also autobiographical in a way. I would like to say for the beginning that the novel we are talking about, Città Sommersa or Submerged City, is a product of a meticulous investigation, both of private history, of your own private life and life of your family, and at the same time exploration of historical circumstances of the Italian society in the second half of 20th century. So it's an interesting blend and a very demanding thing to do in a literary way, to grasp on both things at the same time. So Darko, would you like to open with the questions for Marta?
Yeah, of course. A somewhat ironic question. Is there still potential for revolution in Italian society today? Or is it all about money?
That's a difficult question. I don't know.
What do you think?
I think it's a very peculiar situation right now, and I don't know if society has changed a lot, and I think that in this moment the left is more focused about identity, politics, etc. So it's more, I will say, on the inside than on the outside. And the word that I describe in Città Sommersa was a very strange word and a very peculiar word because it was the people of this word lived completely on the outside, I could say. They were completely focused about help others and make revolution. So there was no space for the self. Then it changed, and now I don't think that in this particular moment the left is very strong, like in many countries of Europe. But I'm no an historian, so I try to write about this world because it was so different from ours. And I tried to write about the motives, for example, that could push someone to make a life of this type, like my father, for example. But it was a very a period that was completely ended.
So tell us, Marta, about how you decided to write this book, and what was the moment when you realized how much your father was involved in what was going on politically at that time? What was this breaking point when you decided that this would be a subject of your first novel?
I have to say that I didn't think to write about my father, and I write in this in this book that we were in a difficult and distant relationship. So when he died 11 years ago, I wasn't interested in him, and I didn't think about him, and I tried to forget his death and his life too. When I found a document, I don't know how to say it it's a defensive memory. It was a document about a process that that he had. He was arrested for this in the 80s, before my birth. And in this document, I discovered that I didn't know anything about him, and I discovered that the man that I didn't understand, that I didn't know, was far more interesting in a very bizarre way because I knew it was a leftist, for example, but I didn't know that it was so far. And he was arrested for partecipazione a banda armata, I don't know to say, armored band, because it was a doctor, and he cured a terrorist, maybe. We just don't know. And it wasn't the team, because the team, the very fact was that it was innocent, and the law said that it was innocent because it had just cured a person. But the very interesting part was the movement, that it was unknown in this document. So I started to search. I just didn't think at the beginning that I would write. I didn't know that, because I had another story in my head, and then the story, I could say, possessed me because I discovered a lot of things, and I tried I started to think that it was an important story to tell, and consequently the form to tell this story in an interesting way, because in Italy we have a lot of like historic literature about these events, about the 70s and the terrorists, etc. But I didn't want to do a book like that. I wanted to try something like my interest, that was like my interests in literature. And so I had to think a lot about the form, and I wrote it about 3 years after the first discover. It was a long quest.
Hi, Marta. Uh, I have just a short question. Is your book a novel or a autobiography, or just?
Is it's a novel, because everything here is true, but I tried to make the history and memory um, put in a literary way. I tried to make a story out of it. So the events, the facts are the facts, but like my mother said at the beginning of the novel, when I want to discover about facts, she tells me facts. They won't ever be the facts, because memory and the people are strange.
So I have another question, which is connected with what you answered. You work as an editor and as a translator. So did it help that you're an editor, because this book is a document of time? So how you manage to connect these two parts, because I feel this book has a balance between political part of the story and personal family connections. So how did you know how to stop? Did you have your just inner feeling or a very good editor?
I didn't hear the last sentence. Sorry.
Is it? Did you have an inner feeling uh, when to speak about father as a father, or father as a political figure? Because I feel there is a good balance in the book between these two parts of the stories. They're connected. That's what I like. So, did you have a good editor or just inner feeling? I don't know.
Can you hear me better? Maybe this microphone is better.
Yeah, because it was a lot confused. Sorry.
Okay.
So,
I will give this microphone to Mark.
sorry.
Aha, odmaknem. Ovako. Aha, ok, ima još koja? Tak, aha. So, just to make it short, you work as an editor and as a translator. So my question was, did this that you work as an editor helped to write that kind of really hard book which is a document of time? And did you have a good editor, or is it just your inner feeling when to be documentaristic or when more personal, like novelist?
Okay, now I understood. Sorry.
It's okay.
I wasn't an editor when I wrote this book. I just started as a translator, so I was just a reader for some um, publishers in Italy. So it wasn't still my work. It's right now. I'm freelance editor, so and I'm a translator in most of the time. I don't know. It's a very interesting question, um, but I think it was just that I read a lot and I studied literature. So I was interested, for example, in how to talk about memory in novels like Marguerite Yourcenar or Nabokov. And so I studied in a certain way how they put memory and time and loss and history in a certain way in books. So the structure is late in, as I said, when I told about the novel at the beginning, it hadn't a form, a real form. So I worked a lot to find this form, and um, it it is like this because in in a on a certain time I understood that I had to detach myself from the character that is myself in the book. So the narrator and the character are different because the character is self when I didn't know, I think, about all this. So I was very young and very arrogant, and I had to play irony on myself. So when I did this separation, I could write, and I knew how to start and how to write about these historical events, because it was the most difficult part, because there was my feelings, the loss of a father, the person of my father, and there was a lot of very known history in Italy on a part, and a lot of unknown history, because the movement of those years is not so known in Italy. We know about, a little about terrorists. We talk a lot about bombs and great historical facts, but all the part of the movement of the young people that was in the leftist movements is ignored. So I need I I have I had to put a lot of information, but I tried to make it in to do it in a literary way. I tried to.
Uh, can you imagine yourself in the 70s? I mean, would you join your father in his struggle? After all, you learn about him and about the time of 70s. You personally, would you join him?
I don't know. I know that I'm a very different person because I'm born in a very different era. So if you think about, there is a writer that I met, and I talk about it in the novel. It was in Servire Popolo, that was the political party of my father, and he told me, you can't understand because you're too ironic. you are from another year. So he asked me to have comprehension and pity also for these people, because they make the strange choices, but they were in a way very passionate. And I don't know, because I'm surely of left, but I don't know if I could have that transport. I could say that total investment of myself in a thing like that. I think it's very, very peculiar of that age, that people, and that year. So I don't know what I should do, but we don't know. We just don't know about the past and how we can be, we could be.
I would like to have your opinion about some other facts upon your novel. It seems me it represents something, I would say, a new sentiment of life expressed in a different way in modern contemporary literature all over the world. I would say that is the point of return in many novels. Return to history, return to childhood, return to some parts of via madre, via padre, via infanzia. A lot of novels in contemporary literature there are with explore this theme. And I would like to discuss with you this theme upon your novel. Il nuovo sentimento della vita expressed through this, the return point. And what do you think about, would you say something come lei sembra in questi fatti della letteratura contemporanea?
Yes, I think that there is a very strong movement versus the inside. We are going to the inside also in literature, and I think that I don't think that autofiction, or how we can call it, is a particular problem. I think it's a thing that involves so many people in so many countries of the world that probably right now novels, we could say normal novels, conventional novels with the conventional structure are less interesting in this particular moment for to people who write. So I don't know. It's true that there is a return, and there is a lot this theme of the family in all its implications, but I don't know if maybe the return is the main theme of literature from the beginning of history and of stories, because if you think about it, maybe we talk about the same things all the time. So return, family, memory, and time. But I know it's a great it's a great theme.
What about Turin as a city today? Is there a memory on the collective level of everything that city as such went through, the industrialization and then the deindustrialization? Is there this collective sense, or in this novel you are picking up the pieces that were left along the way? How do you see, and how was your novel perceived in your city? Because the title obviously refers to the city. How does the city live? Does the city live in the accordance with its past, with its recent past, or it's detached? What's the situation? Because the city is very present in the novel.
Yeah, in fact, the sunken city of the title is a double meaning, because okay, there's the city, the actual city, the mythical city in a certain sense of the time of the past and of memories, and it's the man, because there is the legend of Kitiej that I mentioned in the book, and so in a certain way, the sunken city is the man, is the man with all his past. So there is the city and the man go together. So there is no the actual terrain in the book, because there is the city of the past, the city that I try to reconstruct, the city of these young strange people, and of struggles and work. So there are workers of the factory, Fiat, even if I don't mention any name, because I wanted to try a detachment also in names. It's for this that I changed the historical names, because I wanted a sort of freedom from chronicle. And right now the city is very different. Is after the actual end of the Fiat of the is it's changed. It's there is a link, but it's very it's not so strong. It's weak, and right now, but I think it's diffused in Europe. We like European people, as European people, have this problem in all the big cities. We are detached from the past. We live in the present, like the present was always there. So yes, there was a lot of interest, but when my book came out, so COVID came just after. So there was a lot of interest. There were a lot of presentations, and stop after a month. So I was a little unlucky, but there was a lot of discussions. There were a lot of discussions at the beginning, because a lot of people from those years came to presentations and were happy to discuss. They wanted to witness about those times. They were happy to talk about those times, because nobody talks about them. They were witnesses, and they were happy to be there.
The book also came out in the UK for a very good publishing house, Serpent's Tail, and we were also told that the book came out in Greece for a good publisher. And you were recently in Dublin at the Dublin Book Fair, were you? So how did the audience there react? I know Serpent's Tail has they really pick their titles, and they're also always socially sensitive, and they like they published a long time ago some books also from ex-Yugoslavia, and they were interested, for example, in the war in the Balkans and how it was perceived in the literature. So how was what is your feeling? What's the reception in the UK in English language? How did they see the book, and maybe did the readers in UK connect with what was happening in their cities like Liverpool, Manchester at that time?
In Dublin, I didn't see anything of particular political. I was with another writer, another Irish writer. So we talked about writing, and the people was more interested in how I dealt with my father's inheritance. So it was like that. There were some reviews that are focused on politics, but I noticed that when in France too, or in England, when they talk about the politics of someone else, they are more focused on describing what's it's so unknown that they need to explain all the time. So they don't see a lot of connections, I think. I'm interested because the book has been translated in German too, but it will come out in the next year in spring. Germany is the only country in Europe that has a similar history to Italy in those times, because there were leftist terrorism and a lot of movements. So France is similar, but it's another story. Germany is more concerned, so I'm interested in eventual parallels, because but they far more interested in the peculiarity of Italian history, that to create reflections about their own history.
It's interesting. There was a very nice review in a weekly magazine here in Croatia, Express, and the reviewer pointed out, because I'm now relating to our history in Croatia, in ex-Yugoslavia, because at that time Yugoslavia was a socialist country, and workers were having a different position than in the Western countries. So it's a kind of a different point of view when we are talking about the 70s and 80s, and the reviewer pointed out, it's interesting what he pointed out as important. He noticed more the literary side of the book, and he wrote, this is a book about how you write about somebody very close to you when you can't ask him any more questions.
Yes.
And this the political side, kind of the political background of the book kind of clouds over all the time and hovers over, but it's inevitable because that is what was happening. That is the irony of the whole story. So we asked our actor to choose a part of the book to read in Croatian language. So you can hear how the book sounds in Croatian. And if we go back to the position of the 70s, we could say you will hear the language of the free workers.
Ne mogu se sjetiti kad sam saznala da mi je otac bio u zatvoru. Ne znam ni tko mi je to rekao, ni kojom prilikom, ni koliko mi je bilo godina, ali sigurno sam još bila mala. Zato pamtim osjećaj, prijeteći i bajkoviti prizvuk te riječi. Možda su rekli zatvoren, pa je moje pamćenje to poslije izmijenilo. I nejasan dojam nečega prodornog. Takav podatak nikako nisam mogla uklopiti u svoju stvarnost. No to je bilo davno, rekli su mi. I on je onako bio nevin. U to nisam sumnjala. Nisam znala što je bio i zašto je bio optužen. Bilo mi je jasno kao dan da nije mogao biti kriv. Premda ne bih znala nabrojiti njegove vrline, nije bio kadar počiniti zločin. I stalo je na tom naletu djetinjeg sažaljenja prema njemu. Znala sam da je slab, a samim time neprijeporno i žrtva. Poslije mi to nije bilo važno, niti sam se ikad toga sjetila kad sam o njemu razmišljala. Razgovarali smo o tome u nekoliko navrata, ali uvijek vrlo sažeto. Kazao mi je da je bio liječnik, da su ga uhitili pod optužbom da je terorist, da su mu drugi liječnici bolnice u kojoj je radio okrenuli leđa, pa se nije više htio onamo vratiti i napustio je struku. Da je na kraju oslobođen svih optužbi, kad sam ja imala godinu dana. Da nikada nije bio terorist, u što mi je i dalje bilo vrlo lako povjerovati. To je bilo to. Osim pokojeg usputnog spomena kroz godine. Primjerice, liječio sam jednog ranjenika iz prve crte i onda, sarkastično bi naglasio, logički slijed, su i mene optužili da sam u prvoj crti. Je li se tako izrazio? Više manje da. Zapamtila sam sarkazam, kategoriju duha koja mu je bila tako strana da mi se urezala u pamćenje. Mislim da mi nije otkrio više pojedinosti, niti sam ga ja ikada pitala. prvostupanskom je presudom okrivljenik osuđen za sudjelovanje u oružanoj skupini prva crta. U drugoj je presudi dodano: ističe se važnost slabosti a. Baronove tvrdnje kako je prema vlastitom priznanju nesumnjivo bio poznat u prevratničkim krugovima, ali nikad im se nije priključio, pa se stoga ne može smatrati pripadnikom oružane skupine. B. Baroneova obrazloženja kako najoštrije osuđuje svaki čin nasilja, dok se istovremeno u potpunoj opreci s time kretao u prevratničkim krugovima. Teško je objasniti koliko su me te riječi zaprepastile, koliko su nestvarno zvučale, dok ih je majka čitala među visokim tamnim policama svoje sobe pod uokvirenom fotografijom osmogodišnje mene na obali rijeke. Bile su to riječi iz tuđeg svijeta, riječi iz kasnovečernjeg dokumentarca s turobnom glazbom u odjavnoj špici, fusnota u nekom eseju o povijesti politike kakve sam običavala čitati prethodnih godina, nisu pripadale mojemu životu, a povrh svega, bile su nespojive s čovjekom kojeg sam poznavala, zapuštenim 60-godišnjakom, koji mi se jednom, dok sam mu izdaleka išla u susret, učinio tako ranjivim i krhkim, naslonjen na svoj bicikl, sa svojom naherenom beretkom i pogledom izgubljenim u praznini, da me obuzela neobjašnjiva tjeskoba i ubrzala sam korak, potrčala sam, samo da što prije dođem do njega, da ga zaštitim od okrutnog svijeta, da ga pripojim svojoj orbiti.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you did
Part of it because I understood the word sarcasm.
yes.
So I can I know which part you read.
Great. So we came to the last part of the presentation. I want to thank you very much for participating, and I can announce your visit to the Pula Book Fair in late November, early December, when you will come to Croatia, and we will talk more about the book. And I'm sure that by then we will have success and hopefully print another edition. Because I think the book has very good chances with Croatian writers. Croatian audience loves this kind of approach, but we will see if it will be by their taste. That's what we want to know, and I hope you will have more translations, because this book is talking about the period, as you mentioned, which many of us forgot, and many changes happened in Europe, and many people still remember the old times, but we rarely revisit them in the way you did in your book. My colleagues, do you have any more comments or questions?
I'm not sure that the times are changed very much.
My father thinks the times didn't change so much, but we will see. Marta, thank you very much.
Thank you all, really.
And we'll stay in touch, and we will. This conversation will be able to will be online, and I call everyone who didn't join us from the beginning. Yes, there are questions from public. If the public has questions, yes, please.
So briefly, thank you. I wanted to stress out the fact that though your case is particularly relevant, I think that dialogue between, through generation, between father and children, or parents and children is difficult, and most of us, I think, we realize that in the end we didn't get to know really our parents, although maybe they died old, and we stayed close physically for years because there was no time for asking questions, or there was a certain shyness on both sides, and I can say the same for my father, for instance. I don't know to what extent I really got to know him, not to mention my grandparents who lived the war, through years of war, and they had an exceptional life during those 5 years of Second World War, and I don't know what they did, but I'm sure they did interesting or exceptional things compared with the life I live now. Having said that, I wanted to know, since this book is very compact, there would be the material to read an encyclopedia of volumes about the 70s and your father's life. Are you satisfied? Did you think that, in spite of a book which is light, not too long, what's your feelings? You succeeded in reconstructing the most important part of your story and the 70s in Turin, and those exceptional years. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I think the most tragic thing, matter in this book is the thing you mentioned, and many people talk with me in those years, in these 2 years, told me that the feeling that they understood more was this feeling, the feeling of not getting to know your loved ones, or not so loved ones. So the problem of the past, the problem of the personal history of people is strong, and yes, I'm happy. I needed to stop this book because it took 6 years. So I'm happy because it is exactly what, or not so exactly, but it never is. It is quite what I wanted to write. So a particular thing about a particular time and a particular feeling. So I'm happy with it.
Great. Congratulations one more time on the book. We wish you success with it and with your next novels in the future. We want to thank one more time the Italian Institute and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, the Creative Europe program of the European Union, and the Ministry of Culture of Croatia, who helped the translation. The translator, unfortunately, was not in Croatia for this week, so she couldn't join us, but she's with us in her mind. So until next time, Marta, and that will be soon, I hope. I wish you all the best, and we all greet you from Zagreb. Thank you very much for joining us. Please, one applause. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.
Bog.